What is up, flockers? That is my fellow lockers and aspiring lockers. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing some of the expectations you can have with Braidlocs. So if you're interested in that, then stick around. The first expectation that you should have is that you are going to have a simple installation. Now, obviously, if someone else is installing your locks for you, you don't have to worry about that because it's nothing that you have to do yourself. But if you're a DIYer like myself, knowing that the installation is easy is pretty comforting. You know, there are some methods that are more involved and more cumbersome and more difficult. Like if you were going to start your locks with interlocking, that can be a very difficult method of starting your locks. Or something that's not as difficult as that, but a little bit more difficult than braiding is comb coils. Again, I don't think that comb coils are super difficult, but there is a certain way that you have to move the comb down as you're making the coils. So it might not be for everybody, but if you know how to plait, if you know how to braid, then starting your locks with Braidlocs is simple. Just like starting with twist, it's a pretty simple starter method. It's kind of foolproof. It's kind of hard to mess up. So that's something that you can expect, is that your installation is going to be simple. You're not going to have to overthink it or put in too much work or thought behind the whole process of Braidlocs, because it is literally just that, braiding your hair and then you leave it alone to let it lock. Something else that you can expect with Braidlocs is that from day one, you're going to have a cool style, because literally once you are done with the set of Braidlocs and with the installation, you are filled with the style with a bunch of braids. Now, if you're doing Microlocs like I did myself, then maybe you're walking around looking like you got a bunch of Moesha brandy micro braids in your hair, and that's okay. My point being is that it's a cool style. It's something that's different than your norm, because most people aren't rocking micro braids on the norm. You do leave with the cool style, even in the process while you're waiting for your hair to mature and to turn into locks. So that's something that you can expect with your Braidlocs as well. A really positive thing that you can expect with Braidlocs is that you're going to experience less shrinkage with this starter method than you will with others. Now, please hear me when I say that this isn't a starter method that's going to keep you from experiencing any shrinkage at all. That starter method does not exist. This starter method with braids, compared to many other starter methods, keeps your hair elongated, and so it keeps your hair from shrinking as much as some of the other starter methods do. And so from day one, you've got a cool look and you've got an elongated look that's going to preserve a lot of your length of your hair that it was before you decided to do the Braidlocs. So that is a huge plus. Something else that you should expect with Braidlocs is that you are going to maintain your braid pattern longer than you maintain some of the other patterns of other starter methods. Like with comb coils, those tend to go away really quickly. With two-strand twist, that's also a method that the pattern tends to disappear pretty quickly. With Braidlocs, sometimes even 3 to 5 years into the journey, you will still see some braid pattern in your locks. I am almost 3 years. No, I am into my journey now. 3 years. Wow, I didn't even realize we've come up on that. Tomorrow will be my 3-year lock anniversary, y'all. But even at 3 years, there's still some braid pattern, and if you get just close enough, you can see this braid pattern. You're like, oh yeah, that's a whole thing. So braid pattern does not disappear quickly. And for those that are super concerned about there being braid pattern, this might not be the starter method for you, simply because it does take a long time. But if you're not concerned about that, if you're not worried about that, and you just want a low maintenance, don't have to think about it every single day of your life hairstyle, and an easy starter method that you can start with and start on your own with no additional tools but just your own hands, then Braidlocs may be the way to go for you. Another expectation you can have with Braidlocs, just like it is an elongated starter method, it will also reduce the amount of swelling. Again, this isn't to say that you will have no swelling when you start with Braidlocs, but you have minimal amount of swelling, or you have a reduced amount of swelling than you do with some of the other ones. Like I said, with comb coils and two-strand twist, those allow your hair to expand more. And so you're gonna have a lot more swelling with those, you know, the pregnant locks, as some people call them, or where it looks like they got these huge bumps on them. But you're still gonna get that even with Braidlocs, but it's just gonna be smaller and more condensed because of the nature of the braids and them being more compact when you start them. Another thing that you can expect with your Braidlocs is that they are going to form and mature just like any other lock. You can rest assured that at the end of the day, at the end of, when you get to 5 years, when you get to 10 years in your lock journey, your locks are going to look like someone who started their locks with comb coils, or someone who started their locks with 2-strand twists, or someone who started their locks with the interlocking method. Because in the beginning, they are different, they look different in appearance, but as the locks mature and you go along your journey, they all end up looking the same in the end. Unless you're doing something funky with your maintenance. If you're out here doing something crazy with your maintenance, or doing something to chemically process your locks in an unhealthy way, then yeah, maybe you will have locks that look different than everyone else's. But if you're doing things the correct way, the healthy way, then your locks are gonna mature just like everyone else's. So if you're worried about starting your Braidlocs and thinking, I don't know if they're gonna look like other types of locks because I started with braids, no need to fear. They will mature just like every other type of lock. Another thing you can expect with Braidlocs is that you are going to have people mistake your locks for Sisterlocks. I don't know how many times people have come up to me and said, I love your Sisterlocks. Sometimes I take the time to correct them and let them know they're Braidlocs. Sometimes I can't be bothered, but you should expect that people are going to think that they're Sisterlocks because, again, as they mature and just because of the size and the nature of them, most people's association that don't know are just going to assume that they're Sisterlocks. Those that do know, those that are in the community, they will know the difference if they get close enough, but the majority of the world just considers all Microlocs to be Sisterlocks. So that's something you should expect and either look forward to or just be ready to correct if that bothers you. And something else you can expect is to turn a lot of heads and get plenty of compliments, because you're gonna get a lot of compliments. You're gonna get a lot of people stopping you to talk to you about your hair and ask about it. So be prepared for that as well. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that thumbs up button so I know what type of content you're enjoying, and also hit the subscribe button so that you can join the flock. And before you go anywhere, check out some of the other videos that have popped up on the screen. I'll see you there.